Well, in the new economic global order, competitiveness remains the holy grail of most countries seeking to craft a responsive policy framework. That's the view of Dr. Christian Ketels, a member of the Harvard Business School faculty at the Professor Michael E. Porter Institute for Strategy and Competitiveness.
This is a very simple question. There is no very simple answer to that. Competitiveness is ultimately really about the productivity of a location. So how productive can companies in this location be? Why are we interested in that? Because what we see across many countries is that if you want to have a prosperous society, if you want to have a high standard of living of individuals, it only works if you have productive companies. So, but then your question is, what is behind that? Because productivity is kind of the result. It's an outcome. It's not really what some people call the root cause. And what we found is that in the academic literature, you have almost had kind of the search for the Holy Grail. Is there this one answer, this one thing that drives productivity? We talked about good institutions, we talked about sound macroeconomic policies, we talked about the rule of law. And I think after many years of analysis, what many people see is that there is no one answer. It's actually a lot of things that matter. And that makes it so complex. Because countries really need to figure out what is right now for us the priority to improve in order to help our companies to become better, to become more productive, to become more innovative. So there's no one answer to that. The challenge is for every country, for South Africa, for Botswana, for Mozambique, for Angola, for every African country, what are the priorities that we currently need to tackle in order kind of to make the next stage from where we currently are?
However, applying a competitiveness strategy in countries such as South Africa can be tricky. This as the country grapples with major economic unrest in the mining sector. This could unnerve investors and undermine corporate strategy in general.
No, obviously it's a key issue. It's a key challenge that companies do not want to invest, especially make long-term investments, and that's what you need in the mining sector. In a country where you have concerns about labor relations, about nationalization, about other issues. Now, I think the problem is not so much this one very unfortunate incident, this very tragic incident, but it comes after a number of things that have over time eroded South Africa's attractiveness from the point of view, especially of mining investors. If you just look at the rate of foreign direct investment that is flowing into South Africa compared to other African countries, would you see that South Africa has not been very effective in getting foreign money in, not in the mining sector and also not in other sectors. So there is a clear view here among foreign investors that there is uncertainty here. We don't really know where we're going. And I think there's also a question about, there's a lack of clarity about what does South Africa stand for. We always talk a lot about strategy for companies, how they should be positioned and what they should do. But there is also this notion about strategy for a country. Why should I come to South Africa as a company when I now have many more choices across Africa, choices that I didn't have before? Historically, it was easy. South Africa was one of the few places where you could get advanced business services on all this kind of stuff. But that has changed. And so South Africa needs to think anew about what is our role in the global economy, but also in the African economy. What are the particular things, what are the particular type of activities and firms we want to attract to our country because they can do better being located here than being located somewhere else.
Dr. Ketels believes a country such as South Africa has unique challenges that will require unique solutions. Here he gave producer Buntu Williams an overview of South Africa's competitiveness profile.
Every country is special, but South Africa is special in many different ways. If you look at the competitiveness profile of this country, it still very clearly shows the scars of apartheid. I mean, you have strong companies, much better in many other countries at the same level of development. You have kind of some innovative assets that are quite good. At the same time, you have huge skill issues. You have emerging infrastructure issues. You have huge kind of social development, human development issues. And I think when I look at South Africa, I see kind of this attempt to balance. On the one hand, you want to improve competitiveness. You want to make this economy more productive. On the other hand, you also want to make sure that the majority of people that didn't have access to wealth, to skills, to power, to all these kind of things, that they get access to these issues. Now the problem is, as long as this is a trade-off, So you view this as a trade-off. There's a situation where you don't want to kill the economy, but you basically want to redistribute to help the majority of the people. So far, I think the result has been that the majority of South Africans seems to be pretty unhappy with the deal that has delivered to them. While the economy, or the wealth generation machine, is slowly deteriorating because it is not kind of getting exactly the kind of support that you need.
It's not a pretty picture.
It's not a pretty picture. And I think the only way to kind of really get around this is that you need to look for areas where helping those that didn't get the support before is also creating productivity in the future. Now, in the short term, there might be some trade-offs, but in the long term, South Africa will only be a competitive, prosperous economy if the majority of people are well-trained, have the right kind of skills, and can really be productive members of society. That's not achieved through redistribution, through redistribution of wealth, but it has to happen through really a redistribution of skills, if you will, making sure that the skill base that we have in the society is radically improved. If it continues to be a trade-off, I think there's a real danger that this balance kind of will become unsustainable. And the recent incidents at the mine and other things, I think they are just signs of this pressure that's building up in society.